Living with Cancer and Sleep, Episode 2. How to play your cards right, strategies to encourage restful sleep. Hello and welcome to our podcast about sleep and cancer. Once again, I'm joined by Matt Williams, a senior program manager for mental health with the Oxford Academic Health Science Network, and a man on a mission to spread education about how we can sleep better. So, without much further ado, let's get into it. In the previous episode, we tried to sketch out the scale of the problem and think about why sleep is such a problem for cancer patients. Now, there's plenty of advice out there to help people get a good night's sleep. But Matt, what approaches have been shown to actually work, at least for most people?
Well, that's really interesting because the nice guidelines or nice recommendations. So people trying to kind of say what's the best evidence base for treating insomnia and poor sleep. I would say that it's cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia. So this would really tackle the psychological aspects, the racing mind, the anxieties that people have to really help them overcome their sleep problems. So that would be the recommended version. And then of course there's all sorts of other things that people try. Some of them work or may work for you, but not for me. So there's over-the-counter medication, there's prescriptions, there's sleep hygiene, there's all sorts of things. It might be about breathing techniques or resting techniques, which can really help. But the gold standard would be cognitive behavioural therapy for insomnia. The sad truth is that there aren't as many people trained in that discipline as we would like. But that's the one which, if we had to pick one out of the big pile of things that might help sleep, that would be the one.
So this is where the evidence base lies, basically. Absolutely. With cognitive behavioral therapy. You mentioned sleep hygiene, right? So can you explain what sleep hygiene is?
Well, sleep hygiene really is one way of looking at how you get your sleeping environment ready. So I'd look at it at two parts. One is the physical environment that you sleep in. So that's about your bedroom, about how dark it is, how cool it is in terms of temperature, how you optimize it for a good night's sleep, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then the other aspect of some of the things that we can do throughout the day about preparing ourselves for the night's sleep ahead. So in terms of sleep hygiene, I would say that it's a case of saying make sure your bedroom is dark. There are, that you've got blackout blinds if you need them, thick curtains. Your bedroom's kept at a temperature between 16 and 19 degrees Celsius. That you're comfortable, and I would say take your televisions, your laptops, your phones, your mobile devices, anything like that. Take that out of your bedroom. Sleep. Your bedroom should be for sleep. And I do appreciate that sometimes I do talks and I address groups of students. And of course, it's easier said than done because quite often students are living somewhere where they're studying, eating, sleeping, and the rest of it. So if you can really optimise your bedroom for that. And then the other aspect is about making sure you get sun on your skin. In the midday sun. Even if it's a dull, overcast day, if you go for a walk at lunchtime, that's a healthy thing to do in and of itself, but actually it starts telling your body to start preparing the hormones that help you to sleep, and that's always a good thing. And then things like don't drink too much coffee, don't reduce your nicotine intake, reduce the amount of alcohol you drink before bedtime, make sure you go to bed not feeling hungry, but not so saturated with fluids that you're going to need to get up in the night to go to the toilet. So sleep hygiene covers a lot of things, but it's those basic everyday things that help most people to sleep.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds to me like this is the basics, basically, to get that sleep hygiene right as much as possible. is basically a foundation block, I guess,
Absolutely.
if you want, for anything else. Talking about anything else, what other approaches are there to help people sleep better?
Okay, so there are other methods that people use, and sometimes those might be dietary. So there are certain food types which encourage the production of hormones to help you sleep. So that might be about a glass of milk. Almonds are another one. Sour tart, cherry juice, all sorts of things that people try, and it will work for some people. Turkey, because of the tryptophan and what have you. So there are sort of foods that people try. I think to some extent, when we're raising children, we give them a bedtime routine. There might be a bath time, then it's story time, and then you have a nice, and then it's lights out and it's sleep time. And that routine is conducted night after night after night, and it works in most instances. But then we get to the teenage years and beyond, and we kind of throw it out. So actually that notion of a bedtime routine is actually quite helpful. So you might think about things like turning off the television, say an hour before bedtime, and you go, I'm going to do a quieter activity. I'm not going to get overstimulated before bedtime. It's really, so you're preparing yourself for your good night's sleep, and that that won't be for everyone, but that can help as well. And then there's all sorts of either over-the-counter or prescription medications for sleep, which might help in the short term, but are not necessarily recommended as being a long-term solution to poor sleep. But I know it's simple things like a spray of lavender on your pillow. If that's your thing, that can help some people. A weighted blanket can help people to sleep. So there's a number of things that people can do. And it's endless. And I think the key thing is that you find the one or the ones that work for you, and give them a go.
And I think the important bit here for me, what I'm hearing here is so many things available. Try it out. Try the bits that you feel are most likely, that things also that you like.
Yeah.
I think for me as a psychologist, what's really important in there is not necessarily I do this just because I want to sleep. I do this because it's nice. It's something I do for myself.
Absolutely. I think, whenever we give advice to anybody, and whether it's about your sleep or anything else, people only take the advice that actually chimes with them, that actually makes sense to them. The idea of going out and sort of dutifully buying blackout blinds, weighted blankets, which ultimately don't work. If you don't think it's going to work for you, guess what? It's not going to work for you. And I think the other thing is that there is no silver bullet here. Sleep, getting to sleep, although we all need sleep as human beings, actually getting a good night's sleep isn't easy. Otherwise we'd all be doing it, and so there is no silver bullet. And I think if sometimes something isn't working for you but has worked before, give it time, try it again, try different strategies, because the trouble is once you have it in your mind that a certain technique or a certain approach isn't going to work, it isn't going to work, because already your mind's telling you, well, this isn't going to work, and I'm going to be stuck here in my bed, wide awake for another hour or what have you, and that's like the worst pace one can be when you're trying to get to sleep.
And that is also what I sometimes observe in clinical practice. There is something about how we approach sleep, and the way I think about it is that if you fight to get sleep, if you struggle with sleep, it will run away. It will evade you. And I do sometimes compare sleep or trying to get to sleep a little bit of a card game.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a dealer, it may be Morpheus, it may be the Sandman, whoever's responsible for sleep. They give you every night a deck of cards. These are the cards you have, and what you can do is play them right. And playing them right for me would mean the sleep hygiene, the little tricks, the relaxation, the doing things for you, the calming down of the nervous system as much as you can. But if you don't have the joker in your set, you don't have the joker in your set, right?
Yeah.
And what sometimes happens is people try to sleep with a certain amount of tension. I want to sleep badly. Of course, we all want to sleep because we will be very tired otherwise in the morning. But this battle with sleep creates a tension. The tension is going to light up your nervous system, if you want, like a Christmas tree. So you activate yourself if you battle with sleep, if you clock watch, and then sleep probably is not going to come to you, right?
Absolutely, and I think the one technique or one thing to bear in mind, I think, is sort of a tactical retreat. If you've been lying awake in bed thinking to yourself, I'm not going to get to sleep, get up, go downstairs, have a drink, do a quiet activity until you start to feel tired. For goodness sake, don't switch on the television, don't check your mobile phone, whatever. Go downstairs, do something nice and relaxing, and when you start to feel tired, then go back to bed. Because actually what tends to happen is that people can make start to associate their bed with not sleeping. And I think once that's happened, that's where you need the cognitive behavioural therapy to kind of undo that link. But the other thing is to keep a pen and pad by your bedside. If thoughts are racing around your head, you can think about your to-do list for tomorrow, then write it down, get it out of your mind onto some paper, and that's a really important thing as well.
Yeah, to get this out so it doesn't go round and round in the head, if you want. You just reminded me of another thing that I sometimes tell my patients, and that is, in order to sleep, one could argue that, from the olden times, evolutionary, in order to sleep, we need to feel safe. Yeah. Okay? If we don't feel safe where we are, then it will be very hard for our mind to trust that it can become basically deeply unconscious, right, sort of thing. So that then can lead us to think a little bit around, well, do I actually need a little bit of background noise if that makes me feel safer? Or do I need complete silence, And sometimes it can be helpful to look back as you grew up in your childhood bedroom. If you felt safe there, what was that like? Did you grow up in a very, very busy road? Well, then maybe a little bit of noise can help. Or does overall this layout of the bedroom, the security measures, locking doors and stuff, is all of this making me feel safe? If not, maybe that also needs to be addressed. Absolutely.
So again, the sleep hygiene sort of rules, as they were, as they are about darkness, quiet, all of those things, which are absolutely sensible, may not suit everybody. And I think it is, again, it's about the individual's context, what they assume with sleep, what's their partner like, how does their partner sleep, if they have, if they're sharing a bed with somebody. That's another thing to be negotiated as well, because you might have a partner whose sleep pattern is very different to your own. These are things that all need to be looked at, and none of it's right, none of it's wrong. It's just finding the techniques and the situations that work best for you as an individual. And I mean, the other thing which I think is a term I came across a few months ago, which I really like, is orthosomnia. And basically orthosomnia is where people have got their Fitbit or their sleep tracker, and they keep checking that it's supposed to help them sleep. It's there for all good purposes, but they can't stop looking at the thing, and actually through doing that they stop them from sleeping. So that's orthosomnia. So actually, if that's you, then throw that Fitbit or other brands are available. Your sleep tracker, throw it away. Give it to a neighbour or something, because it's not helping you to sleep. So again, these things are created with the best intentions, but if they don't work for you, if they happen to kind of rub up against how you are as a person, then they don't work, and it's time to look for other things as well.
And I think that's a very good message to conclude this part of the podcast. So once more, thank you, Matt, for talking to us today about sleep and cancer, and I speak to you again at our next episode about even more strategies to encourage a visit to the land of Nod.
Fabulous, thank you.